The internet is already screaming, so let's do what we do on this channel. Slow down, look properly, and actually understand what we're seeing. Because Chanel Spring 2026 Haute Couture was beautiful. The set was magical, the clothes were pretty, the colors were gorgeous, the craftsmanship was undeniable, and I still walked away disappointed. Not as a buyer, I loved it. I loved it because so much of this could genuinely live in a real wardrobe. I could see the occasion, I could see the woman, I could see the day to night, I could see the life. But as a couture collection, I was expecting more. I was genuinely so excited for this moment. A first couture collection under Chanel is supposed to feel like a statement. It's supposed to remind you what couture is supposed to be. Not better ready to wear, but something in a completely different category. And what I saw, in my honest opinion, was an extremely good ready-to-wear collection dressed in couture week language. So let's talk about it properly, respectfully, but honestly, because you can love Chanel and still hold Chanel to a couture standard. That's not hate. That's love with taste. That's love with discernment. That's love that refuses to clap for anything just because the name on the invite is Chanel. And if you're new here, I'm not here to be biased. I'm not here to be mean. I'm here to be accurate. And I'm here to teach you how to see fashion the way fashion people see fashion. So you never have to borrow your opinion from ever again. Now, before we get into the looks, we need to agree on one thing. Haute couture is not a vibe. It's not pretty. It's not expensive. It's not Paris. It's not even handmade, because a lot of luxury is handmade. Couture is a language. Couture is when the construction is the story. Couture is when a garment is engineered around a body so precisely that the wearer doesn't just look dressed, the wearer looks composed. Couture is when hours disappear into details most people will never notice, but everyone will feel. Couture is when you see technique that makes you ask, how did they do that? Not, where can I buy that? So when people say, I love wearable couture, I understand the appeal. I do. Wearability is not a crime. Wearability is not a weakness. But I'm going to say something very plainly. If the biggest compliment a couture collection gets is, I could wear this, that usually means the collection didn't do the couture job. Because couture's job is not to be wearable. Couture's job is to be extraordinary. Wearability can be a byproduct, but it cannot be the point. And that's exactly where this show lost me. Let's start with the set, because the set was honestly one of the strongest parts of the entire experience. We're under a giant glass roof, this airy cathedral feeling. Everything is blush pink, soft, powdered, dreamy. Then you have this surreal mushroom world. Oversized mushrooms, smaller mushrooms, pink trees that look like willows, a floor that feels like a cloud. The whole world is whimsical, almost childlike but not childish. More like an expensive fairy tale. And here's why the set matters. It told us what the collection wanted to be. It wanted to be softness. It wanted to be delicacy. It wanted to be a gentle form of fantasy. It wanted to be quiet beauty. And conceptually, that's valid. Actually, conceptually, it's strong, because in a fashion era that's obsessed with shock, vulgarity, being loud, being hypersexual, being look at me, softness is almost rebellious. Softness is almost luxurious again. So I was ready. I was ready to be transported. And then the clothes came, and I kept waiting for the couture moment. The moment where a silhouette shifts and you go, oh, okay, this is couture. The moment where the atelier flexes and you go, that's why this exists. The moment where Chanel reminds you that this house has codes, yes, but also has a couture heritage that can be sharp, surprising, and elevated be obvious. And for me, that moment never arrived. Instead, what I saw was what people keep describing online. Texture, proportion, the usual house codes. And the thing is, those aren't couture on their own. Texture is not couture. Proportion is not couture. House codes are not couture. Those are the basics of luxury design. Those are the basics of a strong runway collection. Couture needs to add the impossible. Let's talk through the strongest ideas, or because there were ideas, and I want to be fair. The first major idea was transparency. This show was obsessed with transparency. Transparent layers, sheer tailoring, illusion fabrics, dresses that felt like a whisper over the body, and even accessories that were literally see-through. Those transparent bags that had the internet in a chokehold. And I want to pause on those bags because honestly, those bags were one of the most poetic details of the whole collection. A transparent bag is such a loaded symbol. It's saying, I'm not hiding, I'm not performing, I'm not stuffing my life into a logo, I'm letting you see what I carry. And then the detail that made it feel even more emotional, the embroidered love letter inside. That is beautiful storytelling. That is intimacy. That is couture as mood. But here's the problem. Those bags felt like the concept was clearer than the garments, because the garments were so restrained that the concept didn't build into an arc. It stayed at the level of pretty, soft, textural. And couture needs to crescendo. The second major idea was feathers everywhere. We saw feathered hems, feathered textures, feathered movement. There was that incredible color-blocked cape-like dress that looked like layered wings, red at the top, then cream, then warm beige, then black feathers cascading down like a dramatic shadow. That was one of the few moments where I thought, Kate, this is at least stepping into a couture silhouette language. Because it wasn't just a dress, it was a shape. It was theatrical, but still controlled. And that's what Chanel does best when it's truly Chanel. Control, elegance, a very specific kind of restraint that still feels rich. But again, was it couture or was it couture styling? Because I kept thinking, if you removed the feathers, what's underneath? A lot of these pieces rely on surface texture instead of construction innovation. They rely on the finish rather than the engineering. And couture at its best is engineering. There was also a strong tweed universe, obviously because Chanel. And some of the tweed work looked beautiful, especially when it had those feathered trims at the hem or cuffs, or when the tweed had a confetti petal-like surface that made it feel almost alive. There was one look in like a classic couture Chanel woman translation. The structured jacket, the skirt, the perfect proportions, the kind of piece that makes you stand straighter without you even thinking about it. That's the thing. Chanel can do that in their sleep. And I mean that as both a compliment and a critique, because when a house can do something in its sleep, the couture moment has to be where they wake us up. And I didn't feel awakened. Now let's talk about the looks that made the internet argue the most, because these are the ones that prove my point. The sheer suiting. We had those transparent suit silhouettes where you could literally see the body underneath. And the tailoring was clean, elongated, very modern woman, very, I'm not trying to be cute. And visually, it's interesting. It's a good runway idea. It looks fresh in a Chanel context because Chanel usually stays in a certain zone of propriety, and transparency introduces tension. But I want you to hear me. Transparency alone does not make it couture. In fact, in 2026, transparency is almost expected. We've seen sheer everywhere. We've seen naked dresses everywhere. We've seen illusion everywhere. So if couture is going to use transparency, it has to do something we haven't seen. It has to elevate it technically, structurally, conceptually. Instead, what I saw were looks that felt like exceptionally well-made, ready to wear, styled as couture. And I know some people will disagree with me, and that's okay. But I'm telling you what my eyes saw. I saw a collection that could almost be transplanted into a ready-to-wear season, and the world would call it a strong season. But couture cannot survive on a strong season. Couture has to give you a once-in-a-lifetime season. Now, the red chiffon look, let's talk about it, because it was stunning. That red was rich, it was saturated, it was cinematic. The silhouette was soft, floating, and there were those little delicate details like tiny jewels or pearls along the edges like dewdrops. As a buyer, I'm obsessed because you can wear that to an event and you look like you belong in the room instantly. It's elegant, it moves beautifully, it's feminine without screaming. But as couture again, I'm like, where is the couture twist? Where is the technical shock? Where is the design risk? It's pretty, it's refined, it's tasteful, but it's not enough for Couture Week. And I think the biggest reason people are being harsh, too harsh, is because they wanted to feel something bigger than pretty. They wanted a debut that felt definitive. And instead, this debut felt careful. Now, to be fair, a first couture collection under a house like Chanel is a political moment. It's not just design. It's heritage, it's expectation, it's pressure. It's the weight of Carl's memory, it's the Gabrielle Chanel as myth, it's the corporate reality of a luxury empire. So I understand why this would be cautious, but here's where I'm going to be extremely honest. Caution is the enemy of couture. Couture is where you're allowed to be extreme. Couture is where you're allowed to be unreasonable. Couture is where you're allowed to make something so specific, so obsessed, so detailed that it almost becomes art. And I didn't feel obsession here, I felt taste, and taste is not the same as obsession. There were also several looks that felt like they were living in a dreamy garden palette. Powder pinks, creams, soft blacks, warm neutrals, and these watery pastel tones. The palette was gorgeous, and this is where I want to give the collection credit. The color story matched the set perfectly. It was cohesive, it was immersive, it made sense. But again, couture is not just cohesion. Couture is transformation. So why do some people love it so much? Because they're tired. They're tired of fashion being vulgar. They're tired of fashion being a meme. They're tired of designers trying to go viral with shock value. They're tired of feeling like everything is made for Instagram, not for life. And Chanel gave life. Chanel gave gentle beauty. Chanel gave, I can see myself in this, and that's powerful. But here is the uncomfortable truth. People confuse, I want this, with this is couture. And those are not the same. In fact, sometimes the greatest couture is the couture you don't even want, because it's not meant to be wanted. It's meant to be witnessed. Now let's address the biggest point of debate I keep seeing. Is wearable couture a good thing? Here's my answer. Yes, wearable couture can be beautiful. It can be intelligent. It can be a form of modern luxury. But wearable couture still needs to be couture. If you want to do wearable couture, then give me wearable couture with mind-blowing technique. Give me wearable couture with construction that makes me gasp. Give me wearable couture with the details so intimate and so insane that even the simplest jacket becomes a masterpiece. And what I saw here was wearable, beautiful, high quality, but not mind-blowing. And that is why I personally felt disappointed. Now, does that mean the collection is bad? No, not at all. It means the collection is miscategorized by the calendar, because if you showed me this as a ready-to-wear collection, I would be praising it. I would be praising the restraint. I would be praising the elegance. I would be praising the softness. But couture comes with a promise. Couture is the promise that you are about to see the highest level of the craft. And I didn't feel like this collection used that platform fully. Now let's talk about what I think was the most successful part of the couture argument here. The details. The embroidery work, those close-ups, were gorgeous. The delicate beadwork, the way the motif sat on the fabric like something grown rather than placed. That's where the Hallier speaks. The little playing card-like patch detail on the sleeve, beautiful. The visible label moment, provocative. The love letters, poetic. The idea of what is inside being brought outside, strong. The heels, honestly, the heels were genius because the heels looked organic, like mushrooms, like little sculptures. Some were glossy, some looked textured, some felt almost like they were carved out of nature. And that detail mattered because it echoed the set. It made the world feel complete. That is couture thinking. But again, the accessories cannot carry the entire couture narrative. The garments have to do it too. Now, let me say something that might be unpopular. I think people are also giving Chanel a pass because it's Chanel, and I understand why. Chanel is a symbol. Chanel is a dream. Chanel is one of the most powerful fashion languages ever created. But if we're going to be real, there is bias where pretty gets praised as genius because of the name. And I refuse to do that here. If another house delivered this exact show with the same shapes, the same restraint, the same level of very good, the commentary would be much harsher. So I'm choosing to judge Chanel by the standard Chanel deserves. And the standard Chanel deserves is couture that shocks you quietly, not couture that politely impresses you. Now, what does this mean for Matthieu Blazy? I'm here to read the work. And what this work tells me is that he's leaning into texture, proportion, transparency, and the usual house codes. He's showing respect, he's showing restraint, he's showing I'm not here to cosplay Chanel, I'm here to translate Chanel softly. And that's valid. But a debut couture collection needs a sharper thesis. It needs a clearer signature. It needs a moment that makes the industry go, oh, that's the direction. And right now the direction feels like beautiful, wearable, safe. and safe is not couture. Now, I want to speak to you as someone who actually loves elegance and who is tired of what fashion has been pushing lately. There's something I do respect deeply about this collection. It wasn't vulgar, it wasn't trying to shock with nudity, it wasn't trying to turn women into props, it wasn't trying to go viral by being offensive. It was trying to be beautiful. And beauty matters. Beauty is not shallow. Beauty is a form of order. Beauty is a form of meaning. Beauty is one of the last things that can still make people stop and feel something in a world that's always scrolling. So, yes, I respect the intention. But in Couture Week, intention isn't enough. Because couture is not just about beauty. Couture is beauty plus mastery plus risk. And this collection, for me, was beauty plus taste. Now, let's get to the question you're probably asking. If you didn't think it was couture enough, why did you still love it as a buyer? Because I saw clothes that could actually be lived in without losing their fantasy. That feathered black and cream moment, that could be a once-a-year event piece. The tweed with the soft trims, that could be a forever piece. The red chiffon, that could be a signature look for the right woman. The soft pastels, that could be bridal, it could be gala, it could be a museum dinner. So yes, if you're someone who buys for life, you would be happy. But Couture Week isn't for buyers only. Couture Week is for the mythology of fashion. It's for the culture. It's for the art of making. And I needed more mythology. I needed more impossible. Now let's close this with the most important part. What you should learn from this show, no matter what side you're on. Here's how you judge couture without being biased. 1. Ask yourself, if I removed the name, would I still call this couture? 2. Ask yourself, is the construction speaking or is the styling speaking? 3. Ask yourself, did I see innovation or did I see refinement? 4. Ask yourself, did the collection build into a crescendo or did it stay at one emotional level? And 5. Ask yourself, did I feel like I witnessed something I will remember in 10 years? Because couture is supposed to be unforgettable. And for me, this show was beautiful, but not unforgettable. Now, if you love it, I understand. If you hated it, I understand. If you're confused, that's exactly why we're here. Because the goal of this channel is not to tell you what to think. The goal of this channel is to teach you how to see. And if you want to go deeper, if you want the level of analysis where we talk about why fashion has become so hungry for spectacle, why softness is returning, why people are exhausted by performative luxury and what new luxury actually means in this era, then you need the magazine issues. Issue 001 and issue 002 are where we go beyond the runway recap. We talk about the psychology of taste. We talk about the cultural shifts behind what designers are making. We talk about why certain aesthetics suddenly feel dead and why others return like a ghost. Because fashion is never just clothes. Fashion is a mirror. So yes, Chanel gave us a magical set. Chanel gave us pretty clothes. Chanel gave us wearable beauty. But couture is supposed to leave you speechless. And this time, it didn't. If you watched this far, tell me in the comments, did you see couture here, or did you see a perfect ready-to-wear collection on a couture stage? And be honest, not for the internet, for your own taste.